actually make some pretty strong boards, and I really like just the raw power and the versatility of the deck, which is what's made it so good over the years. So let's get started. We have the 3 Gladiator Beast End All. He's your rescue rabbit target, and he's pretty much just generally for that. Tinky can turn him into a nice beater, so he does have that secondary advantage. He's essentially what makes this deck the Gladiator Beast equivalent of Dino Rabbit. 3 Gladiator Beast Sam Knight. He is your rescue cat and your rescue ferret targets. I also run, of course, the test tigers in here to also side in with that. He's also your generic searcher if he's tagged in and he destroys a monster by battle. You get to search, which is good because it lets you go for your war chariots or even your proving grounds. No, not your proving grounds, my bad. 2 Liquari. I used to run this at a solid 3 in every one of my deck profiles for it, but after Master Rule 4 hit, Liquari became less essential for the deck. 2 Darius. I've considered running 3 of him, but you already see him consistently enough at 2, and you really don't need 3 getting in the way of some of your other playmakers. 2 Noxious. Noxious is your dumper. Like, he's the reason you don't need Foolish Burial or many other hand traps, because you summon him from your hand to pitch a card from your deck to your grave, and on top of that, he also can't be destroyed by that battle, even though your opponent has to drop a direct attack in order for you to drop him. But he's still good, and he still helps you dodge the OTKs as well as get grave set up. 2 Augustus. A lot of people didn't give him credit in Primal Origin when he was released, and really I liked him from the beginning. I said when I looked at people, I said, this card right here will be one of the future boss monsters for this actual entire archetype, and he's not even just a boss monster for the main deck. He's also one of the primary engine starters. Like, if you can see him hit the field by the end of before your end phase, you traditionally can end on a pretty heavily and decently reliable board. Into the Winged Beast, we run the 2 Equeste and the 1 Bestiari. You really only need 1 Bestiari. I've seen people run 2 for the late game situations, in case it gets banished or something, but really, Bestiari, thanks to the extra deck now, it's really not completely necessary to run 3 of, or 2 of even. 3 Test Tigers. Pretty standard, just to be able to access them quickly and get your tag outs. I was testing this and actually ended up pulling 2 Test Tigers and a Sam Knight and still no other support around it, and still ended up on a Dragacius Heraclinos Tamer Editor board with, like, War Chariot behind it. So it was a really good setup, and it's a really good combo maker. Into the secondary engine, we run the 2 Rescue Cat, 2 Rescue Ferret, and the 1 Rescue Rabbit. I like that ratio pretty well. A lot of people say, well, if you're running Rabbit, you need to run it at 2, especially with the way that End All can be recycled. And if he was an effect monster, and if he didn't just summon vanillas, I would say that you'd be 100% right on that. But the factor is that unless you're willing to go into Darius to bring out End All and then bait yourself into an Esadari and then just leave yourself there, you can keep going if you have the right pieces, but there's a lot more often than not you already have the play you need without needing End All. The extra body situation doesn't really come a lot in this because it generically needs specific pieces. And to finish up the monster lineup, 1 Astrograph Sorcerer. Well, Chronograph Sorcerer, my bad. Because Chronograph, when he's summoned off of the effect, he brings another monster with him, which gives you, like, for example, your Bestiari that's still sitting in your hand, or maybe even your Augustus or something that you needed to get on the field in order to continue your plays. He gives you that on top of being a 2,000 body in himself. Into the spell lineup, we have the 3 Proving Grounds for Searchers, as well as the 2 Tinky. got a jalapeno spicy order tech here. Been showing this to the guys at Scrubs Unite, and a few of them say it's not worth it. But when I showed this to TJ, he looked at it and he said, I'm sorry, come again? And he actually said that I had to run that by him again for him to understand it. It is 2 Xyz Receptions. Xyz Receptions is a really good card. It's a spell card that lets you target one face-up monster you control that has a level. And summon one monster with the same level from your hand. Its attack and defense becomes 0, and its effect is negated. But when you're running a Gladiator Beast deck with Xyz Reception isn't used to get another big body on the field. It's used to either unclog your hand if you have an Augustus sitting in hand that you can't seem to get out, or it also helps you get that Bestiari name out there, the Augustus name out there, or even the Laquari name in some dire straits, in order to just go into your fusions and help you start going off. Also, I'm running the 2 Arrival Rivals. I don't like running 3 because you'll end up drawing into it more often than you'll draw into a monster that you actually need to see on the board. Xyz Reception is similar to the same way, but I think 2 and 2 is a nice ratio because it helps you get that extra special summon without having to go into your battle phase. And that lets you set up your fusions beforehand. And 1 Monster Reborn because it's sacky. And 1 Gladiator Return because it does help you get, it replaces itself. It's a 3 grave, shuffle back, and draw 1. It's essentially Upstart Goblin with a 3-card return to your deck. So it's really good for consistency. It's really good for support. And thanks to Noxious being in here, he actually does help turn this deck into a semi-grave-centric deck, and that's really good for it. Trap lineup, we only run the 2 War Chariot. 3 gets really cloggy. And really, with the way that this is going, you don't want to try to go a stun setup because you're running the War Chariots, but you're wanting to be more of a turbo orient, so running more than 2 War Chariots just tends to get in the way of that. And last, 1 Imperial Order, because if you get your big board set up with Heraclinos and Dragacius, Imperial Order helps kind of seal the deal, because now all spell cards are negated, and now they have to try to play around the Imperial Order and get rid of it, which will make them have to expend their plays before they were ready to, and giving you kind of opportunities to just make them have to play around your stuff. It's a good stall tactic, and in a lot of occasions, like if you do manage to go double to triple Geysaris in a turn, which you can do quite effectively with this deck, you've forced your opponent down 4 to 6 cards, and now Imperial Order makes it to where they can't search as easily in order to get their stuff back. But that lines it up for the main deck. I don't exactly run a side deck for this because, again, it's not tournament legal yet because Dragacius is not in the TCG. But we'll go into the extra deck and get started. We have the 1 Esadary. I don't like running the 2. I've seen people go with the generic Esadary for Esadary for Esadary combo just to thin down their board. But without Kaiser Coliseum, that's kind of dead. We run the 2 Geysaris. 3's not really a necessity anymore, not with the way that this deck runs, because you can use Geysaris and any other level 5 or higher in order to go straight into Tamer Editor, who would summon out Geysaris again and blow up 2 more cards, or go into Herc. 1 Andabata, because you do run the Augustus in here. If you go into Andabata off of Augustus and 2 others, he will summon Geysaris. Geysaris will pop 2. Contact fuse these 2 back into the extra deck for Tamer Editor. Tamer Editor can either go into a Geysaris to pop 2 more, Herc to start setting up your big board, or you can go into even Nerokius if you're feeling more Ancient Gearish. 2 Heraclinos, because I have run into competition, testing it against some of my other decks in here, my Zephyra. I've tested against Super Heavy Samurai a time or 2. There will be times where you will need to get this out, and you'll end up losing it, so you'll end up having to bring out the other one. 1 Nerokius, because I feel Ancient Gearish at times, and anti-destruction by battle on either player's turn is always good. 2 Tamer Editors. I did run it at 3, but when Master Rule 4 came out, it kind of shit on it, so I replaced it out for 2. Into the Xyz, we run the 1 Mech-Equipped Engineer for protection, the 1 Gaga Cowboy for when your opponent has low life points and you have no attacks left, 1 Heraldry Patriarch because of Spiral. If you wait for your opponent to get out Double Helix, Super Agent, Tough, if they get multiples of that out period, they're all treated as Super Agent. Heraldry Patriarch will detach, destroy all except one of them, and nothing with the name Spiral Super Agent can be summoned until Heraldry Patriarch leaves the field. In the links, we run the 1 Proxy Dragon, and the proxy here is the 2 Gladiator Beast Dragacius. For those of you who are unfamiliar, he's a Link 2. Link arrows are kind of like Mrs. Radiant. He's a 2K beat stick, and his effect says that if your Gladiator Beast monsters attack, they are cannot be destroyed by battle, and also cards and effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step. If this card battles an opponent's monster, you can send it back to the extra deck in order to summon out 2 Gladiator Beast monsters with different names from your main deck. So he's essentially, he gives the Noxious ability, not the Noxious ability, but the Neurokius effect to all of your Gladiator Beast monsters during their battle, only if they attack. So you give it battle protection, you give it card effect protection only during your attacks with your Gladiator Beast monsters, which is why I still run the 1 Neurokius, because Nero is for either player's turn, but this is your big piece of your deck, because you want to get him out and get your extra setup off of it, and the tag can sometimes help you get into that, because if you don't have the resources to properly set up the board immediately, make him swing in, he can't be destroyed by battle by his own effect, tag out, summon out like an Augustus and a Darius, summon out 2 other pieces, and proceed to go from there, and you'll end up on your Tamer Editor, Dragacius, Heraclinos board. But I wanted to go ahead and give you that kind of tutorial and that generic deck profile. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, YouTube.